Hello, good day ladies and gents, we are back into the picks and bans for game number 2 here between WeDisbandTomorrow and ex-Anexis. I'm this joined by Pulse, and we already have some of those bans coming through thick and fast. Elise, Master Yi, Zach, Twisted Fate and Vayne. Vayne, understandable lock-in here, a ban I should say, from ex-Anexis, because Kellever played such a strong Vayne, so they clearly respect that champion, Pulse.
Yeah, again, not surprising. Banning out the E is something we've seen against Hell pretty much in all his games since we saw that 1 versus 1 Quadra. So, yeah, again, not surprising. Zed comes out as well. In fact, when we were going off air, I was saying I'd like to see something like a Zed or something in placement of the Shen, because yes, it's kind of like, it's the corrosion gameplay where you push them back and you take towers and you split push, but we need to see something that helps them in team fights, because they were all putting their hopes on Twitch to try and see if Cry could do enough damage to essentially do all the damage to take out 5 people, which was, let's realistically look at it, not going to happen unless he has a complete blinder of a laning phase, which he didn't really have, and it's something you can't really expect to happen every single game. So this time we need more multiple threats coming out from WeDisbandTomorrow, and maybe some more scaling as well. We saw Nasus and Vayne, so it was a very sort of ticking time bomb composition coming in from ex-Anexis, and they could just play it defensive in the early game and be pretty much okay. So, what do you expect so far in the picks, or what? What do you expect from the picks so far?
Well, actually only 2 picks have came in, that's the 2 AD carries, so again Twitch is going to be utilised from Crikey and WDT, whereas Ezreal has been instantly locked in for ex-Anexis. So very different AD carry this time around. Thinking about AD carries, there aren't too many that are on different sides of the spectrum than Vayne and Ezreal. Vayne is like a constant kind of breathing down your neck AD carry, whereas Ezreal's more of a poke-centric, stay on the outsides, arcane shift around, and if you build in blue build, then just be really infuriatingly annoying. But he does have the Thresh alongside him, so that's a fairly interesting duo lane. It's not one that I've seen a great deal at this kind of level of play, Thresh and Ezreal lane.
Yeah, Thresh is always going to be very solid, and there's going to be huge mobility in that lane as well. Like, if Kellever gets put out of position, Thresh is near the turret, Arcane Shift flash into the Lantern is like almost impossible to pin him down. So I can see that coming into effect. Again, the gank lane is very nice to see. Great damage and burst damage, in fact, coming in from Kellever on the AD carry. So yeah, I can definitely see that lane working. On the flip side, immediately locking in Twitch as their first pick, very confident indeed, and I'm not surprised. I mean, Cry did such a good job on Twitch. It makes sense to pick him out again. He's got the picking potential and he's decent in lane. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said this to you in the break as well, but I felt very sorry for Cry last game, because other than the positioning on Baron itself, where really he didn't have much of a choice, his flash was already burnt, the rest of his team was dying left, right and centre, he's getting post-traumatic stress disorder from seeing all the stuff going down. His positioning was prime, and it was just a case that Jarvan and Shen on his team were chasing Vayne. All of his front line became that hyper front line that ends up just chasing and leaves your AD carry bare. And you nailed it before as well, Pulse. He said Twitch just can't take 5 players down by himself. No AD carry can do that unless you're like a hyper-fed Vayne, or if Twitch had got this, it's just a ridiculous early game in lane, like 10-0, a full item build or something. But leaving him in that position just wasn't working. This time, however, he has Nami. So similar to what happened last game, where Nami was constantly firing out the Tidecaller's Blessing, the Tidal Waves, and the Arcane Prison, it's going to be doing the same for Twitch. That's going to give him more peel now. So maybe it's a case that they're going to be rinsing and repeating with their front line chasing the AD carry or AP carry, but with the Nami, I think Twitch is going to feel a lot more safer.
Yeah, we're seeing the Jarvan come out once again. I mean, Shen is still open, so they'll have the global presence, but they weren't willing to use it too much in the laning phase. So we'll see if they actually lock that in once again. Jarvan I still like because he's strong in the early game. We have the disconnect coming out, but Jarvan will still give him the early game presence. I like that. He also has a lot of damage inbuilt, at least in the sort of first half of the game, so that's okay. Again, we need to start seeing big damage threats, or at least sustained damage threats. And do you have any information as to why the lobby has crashed?
Client crash, apparently.
Okay.
So it's nothing too exotic. It's not a placement pick or anything like that. It is just the bog standard client crash. So going to be jumping back into this. Losdead has just reconnected into the lobby, so all 10 players are ready and raring to go. Both teams are just saying that they're ready, so we should be jumping back into this again, Pulse. But not too many picks were coming out there, so as much as I'd like to theory craft, I want to see the bulk of the kind of compositions before we delve in too deep. I think it's going to be interesting to see what WeDisbandTomorrow are going to pick in terms of their AP carry. Are they going to go for the Ahri again or something more AoE-centric? Because judging from the way they're playing, I think an Orianna would have fit the bill very nice instead of Ahri. Because then when Shen and Jarvan jump on top of Vayne, you have the shockwave and you can evaporate her instantly. No manner of Nami mechanics is going to keep Vayne alive without burst damage.
Yeah, I'd like to see an Orianna or even a Zyra as well, who would also fulfill counter initiation and initiation potential. In fact, you could have the same with Orianna, but Zyra would also have control as well, and great appealing for Twitch. But the distance would also be nice, just to speed Twitch around the battlefield. So, 2 picks right there. I feel control pick would be very good for their team. And it means they wouldn't have to commit another person, because as you said, they were very tunnel visioned about jumping on Vayne, because you had both Jarvan and Shen jumping on Vayne, and they had no peel for Twitch. So not only would they have the peel, but they'd be so upfront that it would be difficult to get to Twitch, and he wouldn't need as much peeling anyway. And then you leave another slot open for someone who is extremely has more sustained damage. So I'd like to see that pick out. Again, we are still waiting on the lobby coming back up.
Well, it started, and then they quit out again.
Oh.
I assume that's Polish. I unfortunately am not fluent in Polish, or indeed know any Polish at all, apart from curse words. Let's face it. Let's be honest.
I mean, yeah.
That's the standard for most languages, to be fair. But they have typed something in chat, so I'm really not too sure what's happening. Vandenoob and Lolsdead have just reconnected again. So fingers crossed, Pulse. We'll be jumping back in and starting this second game in the next century.
Yeah, very good. So if anyone has any questions in the chat, we'll be happy to answer them, because we are hitting a little bit of lull in the stream. So if you have any questions, we'll answer them on air. And so there's some talk about Yi at the moment, and I think that's probably worth mentioning, because we did see him as a ban out against Overpower in this game, in fact.
Yeah.
So would you like to take it away?
Yeah, Yi, since his remake, when he got the graphical remakes, but also his kind of kit changed as well, he no longer could be viable with AP, whereas before AP, Yi, Alpha strikes in, crushes everyone's face. They changed it to AD. Now, we've seen Yi's work with different levels of success, I think that's fair to say, Pauls. Overpower, aforementioned before, as you said, very, very strong on Yi, was playing against Gragas and got a quadra kill in a 1 versus 4. He is renowned as being one of the highest snowballing characters in the game right now, and in fact game-breaking. Some people view him as game-breaking. But if you play him in jungle, as we saw yesterday, has different effects. Last night, he got completely crushed, Pulse. I think the score was like 0-5 at one point, and he just didn't do any damage. So it's really a heads or tails kind of coin flip situation, I feel. If he gets fed in the early game, he can transition through to late very strong. But if he gets shut down in the early game, he's by and large going to be useless.
Yeah, and there's very little to add on that as well. Like, you hit the nail on the head. Good early game, good late game. Essentially the same with Vayne as well, and Yi is just exceptionally strong in the mid lane if you get him rolling. But if you shut him down, and he's fairly easy to shut down, because his escape is either running fast or just using his flash to get out, or sometimes he could juke like say a flag and drag with Alpha Strike. But apart from that, there's not too much you can do to escape from a gank, so he is possible to shut down, but in the mid lane there's less space to run as well, so again there's all different mechanics around that. So all the picks are coming back out once again, back into the picking stage. So has anything else been locked in apart from what we know?
They're going through very fast here actually. Rumble's been taken, as has Nasus. So Nasus is going to be playing once again on the side of WeDisbandTomorrow. For some reason that name is really hard for me to remember. It's one of those strange ones. WeDisbandTomorrow. It shouldn't be that difficult, but my goldfish memory is running rampant once again. It's almost like they can hear me, Pulse. They are hovering over the Nami pick. And I honestly would be 100% backing this decision up. I think it is perfect for their gameplay, the way they played in game number 1. Jarvan was very aggressive, he was jumping on the AD carry, you have the shockwave on top of that, and suddenly the HP is just disintegrated before your eyes. They're also opting for a potential Jace pickup. So, I like it. This time around they're not going to have the static Shen who's just pushing top lane all game. They're going to have the Jace who's going to poke from range. They have locked Orianna in now. And they're thinking about Tryndamere. So they've got 3 seconds left. I'll just tell you what they lock in, Pulse, and ask for your analysis. So it's going to be Tryndamere. they're going to be taking Tryndamere top.
I like that as well, actually, because they still like the split push into command, and Trynd makes a lot more sense over a Shen, because if you do put him into a team fight, he's still going to carve up faces. The Orianna pickup makes a lot of sense with Jarvan. Their team composition is strong in general. Jace I wouldn't have actually disliked, because Jace would also offer more things to the team fight than Tryndamere does. It's somewhat difficult to close with him, and he also needs to have a very good laning phase as well to transition, but well, yeah, their composition makes sense to me. Good to be seeing what ex-Anexis bring to the table. They have good counter initiate so far and good poke. Let's see what they pick out to complete their lineup.
Well, they're hovering off Ari. They have 10 seconds to change, but judging from the picks already, you're assuming that's mid. I've seen mid rumbles before in the past, but it's not necessarily the most common of pickups there. Violrose used to use it in NA LCS. But it is going to be their A pick in, so that should theoretically, and I use that term loosely, be Xaxis at top lane and Ari in the mid. But with this current meta pulsing, it really could be anything. You never quite know with the lane switch ups. But we've gone from a different position here. Game number one, you said it a couple of times, and I fully agree that a lot of the emphasis, a lot of the pressure and burden was on Twitch's shoulders. It's like, you have to kill them or we're going to lose. This time with their composition, however, Pulse, they have multiple threats. 4 out of their 5 can conceivably kill you. You've got Jace, Jarvan, Ori, and Twitch, all of which can do a lot of damage if given enough time. So I like the fact that they've changed gears here.
Yeah, strong mid game, and they have late game security in Tryndamere.
Oh, sorry, it's Trynd, not Jace. GG.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even notice that message. Like, I thought you had said Trynd. I guess in my mind, I was like, well, they've locked in Trynd. He probably said Trynd. So let's face it. So, yeah, Trynd at late game security, and he will just be able to carry on pushing. Actually, makes their team also a ticking time bomb in the sense that they have to shut down Trynd and stop him from pushing, because he'll literally just autism a lane. He'll sit in a lane and push for the entire game. Literally, that's all he'll do. And you have to send someone to stop him. And if he gets kind of past a certain threshold where he does so much damage he can deal your person, you need to send a second person along. And then it's a 4 versus 5 fight. And your team wins from Tryndamere. And Tryndamere, even if he loses the laning phase, he can always come back. And that's such a scary thing. Tryndamere is just very annoying to play against.
I couldn't agree more. He is one of those characters that even if you shut him down, he is still very much a threat going into the mid to late game. And if he dies a lot as well, let's just say, for example, he goes 0-5 in lane, purely hypothetical, and he's no longer worth gold, he's okay with that. He's just going to keep split pushing, because it doesn't mean a great deal to him. Going to keep just popping down those top towers, and then when he's got a bit of farm behind him, when he's got a bit of global gold behind him, that's when he can start to get the likes of, you know, your static shifts and start to be a real terror to face off against. So as good as Ezreal is at darting around the edges, Trynd is going to slow him, Jarvan can cataclysm him, he's going to be slowed or potentially knocked in the air from Nami, and then shockwave. This is a very difficult, slippery game for Kellever on Ezreal. If he puts 1 foot wrong, he is going to die instantly.
I would say that ex-Anexis probably have a slightly stronger laning phase, and that WeDisbandTomorrow need to get out of that laning phase, not relatively quickly, but they need to make sure they keep up and farm and don't kind of get outplayed and ganked out. However, with Nasus being in the jungle, ganks really aren't on the cards for them, and therefore Gets should be able to make some more plays with Jarvan. So their laning phase should be relatively safe. Jarvan needs to be very careful about ganking them, because these aren't great gank lanes apart from Leo from Korea's Nami, who can supply a little bit of CC. But in the mid lane there's really not that much, and there's decent burst, and in the top lane it's Tryndamere, somewhat difficult to gank for. It's kind of relying on the damage coming from the crits. So Gets has to be very careful about playing this.
I'm just curious as well, Pulse, on the side of ex-Anexis here, KMT as they're known as well, Rumble. Now, it's a character that we have seen a lot, so this isn't a case of me saying, like, Rumble, what are your thoughts? But in this composition, do you feel that he's going to be utilised well? Or would you have preferred a different pick?
Xaxis, typically, we haven't seen him as the initiator. Sometimes, as Lissandra, we saw him kind of edging ahead, but he never was the full-on initiator. I guess he probably isn't the shot caller. It's usually the jungler or the support. So his ultimate we've actually saw him in a game a couple days ago where he was used as an initiator by using Equalizer to split up the team fight. And while I think that's good, in this team composition, I can see it working, especially if Fresh lands his CC first. And it's definitely opening up for jungle team fights, because they'll be looking to bottleneck them into a situation where they can get all that Equalizer damage down. Picking Rumble means that you have to go for very specific types of team fights, though.
Alrighty, well, we are going to find out the answers to those questions that we've just posed after the break, ladies and gents. It's going to be about 1 minute 45 seconds. We'll cut for a quick commercial break. When we rejoin us, will be live for Game 2 between WeDisbandTomorrow and ex-Anexis.
welcome back to the 11th edition of the EUW Challenger Series and the second best of 3 and the second quarter-finals we have today with, I want to call them Game and Gear because I just looked at the stream, but we disband tomorrow and the pings all over the map are extremely distracting. Thank you from both of these teams. And, of course, ex-Anexis. So, we were talking a little bit on the break about the cleanse pickup, so Messers, take it away.
Yeah, it's not something that I noticed in Champion Select, so I kind of slapped my own wrist there a bit. And I was like, damn you, Vince. But Tryndamere, the biggest counter to Tryndamere is CC. Because if you can just lock him in place, he's no longer a threat, he's not scary, he is melee after all. Yes, he can spinning slash towards you, but if you've got an exhaust on him or you stun him, then he's a free kill, or at least you can pop his ultimate, his never-ending fury. But the problem is that if you take Cleanse and Ghost with Tryndamere, he then becomes an absolute nightmare. He's going to be able to run through the box from Thresh, for example. He's going to be able to cleanse out of the exhaust that Thresh will be wanting to put down on him as well, or the Wither that Nasus will come into his lane and try and gank with. So picking up Cleanse, in my opinion, Pulse, was just perfect here from Desu.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And if he does want to get into those team fights as well, even if like they start to try and gank him as well, it's just such a good summon spell to have. He's substituting Ignite for it, but he doesn't really need Ignite. He's looking to farm out the laning phase, and this is something that a lot of Tryndamere seem to do, but they don't really need Ignite. They're not looking for kills. As long as they get through the laning phase with decent farm, they've done their job. They've won the lane. And the fact he's taking Ghost as well, again, makes sense. He won't have teleport, so he won't be able to get to his team. This is something, again, we see is sometimes typical with Tryndamere, so they can get into the fight if necessary. But if he literally is looking to just sit in the lane and push all day, it's a sensible pickup.
And this is really good from both teams as well. I don't know who instigated, who was the first to say on TeamSpeak or whatever, let's lane switch, but realizing that Trin in a 1 versus 2 is sad times for him, they've both went top lane. So a bit of mind games being played here. Rumble typically does very well in 1v2s. In fact, he's one of the few champions that can conceivably turn it around and get a double kill in a 1 versus 2 situation. Trin does not fare well in duo lanes against him. He simply doesn't. He's melee, he's going to have to just sit there, he wants to farm, he wants to be able to push. So it's very smart to send you Tryndamere at bot.
Yeah, Trynd won't do too well against Xaxis, but Xaxis being level 1, well, he's just dinked to level 2, so he had the opportunity if he wanted to go for it, but he's looking to farm this out. Xaxis will have more damage in the early game. He is a lane bully, so this is perfect against Tryndamere. I would expect to see some jungler intervention at that bot lane. That would not be surprising at all. And Desu just trying to put some damage onto Xaxis. We get those lucky crits because, well, he just got one right there because the Battle Fury is just so janky as a mechanic. Sometimes if the game actually goes well, you'll just crit someone 3 times in a row and they die. So Tryndamere, annoying to play against, but should be able to sustain himself for the first few levels.
It's a very similar story as well. From game number 1 when I was saying, you know, Nami and Vayne is such a strong combination, one if not the strongest at bot lane, or in this case at top, but Twitch is a close second or third I have to feel, because he is going to have his Venom Cask, which is when he slows you down, on top of the Tidecaller's Blessing, is like consistent slows for 3 or 4 seconds, and that's going to allow him to put down a lot of damage and then expunge at the end of it. Plus the fact you've got the Aqua Prism fact, all the thought, because Orianna could be falling down in the mid lane, Ignite's ticking down, but will just survive by the skin of her teeth. As I was saying though, you can expunge, and there's so much damage, plus all the CC that Nami brings to the table, Twitch is going to feel very comfortable there in that lane.
Indeed, just going to take a look at bot lane because Getz is looking for this gank to happen. He's usually using Spin Slash to cut off the escape route for Xaxis. Just a second, very nicely. Flag Drag comes down. Actually, it's perfectly timed with the flash coming out from Xaxis. This could be first blood for Desu. Picks it up. This is perfect right now for WeDisband.
Uh-oh, Fed Tryndamere is a happy Tryndamere, or a sad team if you're against him. I have to apologise for the previous play-by-play, by the way. With the pause, I was a few seconds behind, so I got into that Orianna fight a bit late, so apologies, I have skipped to live. But regardless, Pulse, yeah, Tryndamere picking up that first blood is going to be huge for him. Not just the gold, but the fact that he's currently level 4, and Rumble's going to be coming back a bit behind on XP. So Tryndamere is going to keep going up and up and up, and Ari has been caught out here, will be going down the field, yes she will. Orianna picks up that kill, so they get the revenge counter jungle coming into effect, and the gank, and they take it down to 2-0.
Yeah, 3 flashes all in cannon, one after each other. Picking up the kill, all the flashes are down, but another kill immediately for WeDisbandTomorrow is perfect. Right now at the top lane, ganking in from LOL's dead. Knowing that he has to do something in return. Kellen's still following up, Arcane Shift has been popped. Leo is still slowed from Wither. Getting out of it, great juke out of the way of the Mystic Shot, was still picked up in return from the Spirit Fire. Coming in courtesy of LOL's dead. Kill in return, 1-for-1 trade, 3 versus 2 scenario. Not gonna be too unhappy with that.
Now, he was saying as well before that game number 1 there weren't a lot of threats and there's just complete kind of switch up from the tactics courtesy of WeDisbandTomorrow. But also, remember in the first game, Pulse, that we didn't have first blood until like 11 or 12 minutes through the game. We've already had 4 in 6 minutes. So definitely shifting through the gears of both teams, and this looks like it has the makings of a real cracker.
Yeah, and we were mentioning we really like the composition from WeDisband, and their composition really is perfect. They had the early game advantage pretty much like this one as well. Again, the kills didn't come in until a bit later, but ex-Anexis were able to turn it because they had great scaling. This time without the Vayne, they still have Nasus, but they have that massive damage threat, and now there's more damage in return. They could very well keep up this momentum and keep it rolling. They have the composition that could really do so. So we're just waiting to see if the team of WeDisbandTomorrow can just keep it rolling. Right now, 38 farm to 30 on Zaxxas. They seem in a very good shape, plus the kill. And now that he can't really trade with him, he can't 1v1, and the level 6 being picked up, Trin is in really, really good shape.
Oh, absolutely, 100% agree. And he has his summoner spells on availability for himself, so the Nasus coming in, he is not going to be able to kill Trin unless Trin really makes an epic fail and a dog's dinner out of it, because he's going to be able to pop off his ultimate, the Undying Rage, and then after that he's going to be able to just ghost and cleanse away if so needs. So he is a very slippery fish right now. So that's going to kind of suggest to me that Nasus isn't going to bother himself too much at the bot lane here, Pulse.
Yeah, really can't feasibly make that gang happen. In the mid lane, 47 CS, and the equalizer comes down. That's literally just to clear out the minions, making sure that Trinidad doesn't just constantly siege away at it. And that kind of just shows the state of the lane. It's like, I can't actually engage and use my equalizer to kill you. I literally just have to use it to clear out the minions. You on the top lane, Nasus moving around, but he's going to pick up his red buff. Early game really isn't the time for Nasus to start ganking. He doesn't have great ganking potential, so he's just going to try and get himself into the mid game. Now is the time for Gets to net some more kills for his team before they reach that stage.
Yeah, and the equalizer as well, just going back onto what you're saying before, because he realises that Trin is not a free kill, so to speak here, the equalizer has a fairly low cooldown for level 1 without any cooldown items being picked up, 105 seconds. So that is going to be back up before he knows it. So it is useful just to pop it down there, stop the creep wave from pushing, and his towers actually took no damage thus far. And as you're saying, Tryndamere wants to split push. He wants to pick up towers aplenty and really put global presence on the map for his team. Rumble's doing a phenomenal job right now in the form of Zaxxas of just stopping that from being a reality.
Yep, gotta be very careful there because he will eventually farm into a monster. Gets hanging around the mid lane, might be able to get this gank up with Overhaul the Spirit Rush. At least he might be able to pop one of those big ultimates, and then it opens up Drake. If not a team fight, then they could at least pick it up just as an objective. Nasus still rolling through his jungle, just trying to get those Q stacks, and also with the Spirit Fire. That's all he's really looking towards at the moment. And the top lane, we haven't really paid too much attention to that. Slight CS advantage for Ezreal. And bot lane, actually they are trading off against Zaxxas. Vasu is there. He still has the Undying Rage if he chooses to pop it. He might even pop the Ghost, doesn't even need it. And actually the heal from Bloodlust is enough to keep him alive. Overpower now coming into the action. He's landed the charm on to get. The Ignite comes out, and the third charge of the Spirit Rush. Plus the ultimate carrying from Take Fun. They turn it around, and none of them actually fall. Double Wolf stays on Gets. Such perfect play.
And Desu has yet to use, unless I've got my client bug again from yesterday, he's yet to use his ult, Ghost, or Cleanse. So talk about confidence in your own ability, Pulse. He didn't pop any of his abilities in that fight.
Yeah, kept is cool, and the fact that he's not used his ultimate and hasn't used their summoners, it means they can do that all over again. And they have to commit so many people to Tryndamere, it's not even funny. It's just, Tryndamere is having the perfect early game. We just have to hope it works out for them. Great counterplay actually coming from LOL's dead. Knowing there was no wards and everyone would have recalled since they were so low, despite surviving in that perfect situation, he's picked up the Drake in return. So they're actually only about a K behind, which that Drake pickup was really, really good and really well timed.
Hey, you just got to tip your hat to him. This is a play that he does time and time again with Nasus, because Nasus can solo Drake at around level 6 or 7. So realizing, as you say, that there were a lot of weak players in the opposition who couldn't even contest him if they wanted to, and knowing they were probably on their way back, he has managed to just kind of go, okay, well, you've got a few kills at bot lane on my team, but hey, we just picked up a Drake, so we're trying to even this one out. Very nice reactions, and you've got to tip your hat to clarity in those kind of positions. It's easy to get down on your teammates or on yourself for when they start to die. And in fact, hold a thought, because True Shot Barrage comes through, forces the flash away from Twitch, who didn't want to be death sentenced, but here comes Vandanu from the side alongside Overpower. That charm will be landing, but Kellever is still on the back lines right now. Tidal Wave has been utilized as well. Looks like the Alpha crew will be going down, indeed he will, but they're not going to be picking up the double kill. So, nice play at the end of the day from both teams, I have to feel. Even though Nami did die, it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, Leo landed all the skills in the right places, but it wasn't enough to get himself away. Kind of felt that Twitch might have been able to body block some of those skill shots, but again, putting your AD carry in a bad position is, you know, support being out of the action is, of course, less valuable. So in the bot lane, well, it's trend farming. So in the mid lane, we have Ari versus Orianna, and Orianna actually edging ahead about 30 CS. And has been picking up those camps as well. Meanwhile, the bot lane goes for the gank once again with Gets. Ignite comes out. I don't think it will be enough. Aegis comes up in 2 seconds, and even that should be able to mitigate some damage. Briefly flashes up red. Ari coming down into the bot lane. Tryndamere still hasn't used any summoners.
Oh man, this is just e-bullying at its finest, if I can get away with saying that, because Xaxis has been targeted. He was the mark in the mind of both Tryndamere and Jarvan going into this game. They're like, okay, if we can snowball bot lane, everything else will follow. Thus far, they've been doing a phenomenal job. That's Tryndamere 3-0 and 1 pulse. And he nearly has enough to finish off his Blade of the Rune King. 940 out of 1,000 gold from that requirement. So when he gets the Blade of the Rune King, he's going to be a whole lot harder to crack.
Yeah, and right now it's literally just... Even though they're 1k ahead, it's worth mentioning that we're hyping this up for a very good reason. They've gotten the global objective, so the gold will be split among the rest of the team. But the fact that the gold is centralized on Tryndamere, and he's eventually going to reach that stage where he will just push in your lane constantly, we're hyping it up because no one will be able to duel him. In fact, no one can duel him now, so no one's going to be able to duel him later as well. So they're going to at least have to commit 2 people to him, because no one can fight him one-on-one. That means that they'll always have the advantage in team fights over the rest of the map. And that is, well, you don't have to be an incredible good mathematician to realise that's a good thing. Overpower finds himself caught. Catherine comes down, kind of questionable considering she still had Spirit Rush. I guess he was just trying to get that offer so he could go for a gank again. And I guess maybe they were thinking her ultimate's a little more valuable than his. Yeah,
plus the fact that Ari will be coming back into lane 1 versus 1 against Orianna, who still has his ult. So it's a case that it's Shockwave versus nothing right now in terms of ultimate. So that is going to put Take Fun in a happier position overall. And it would be easy at this point to say, well, how come Uncle gets his ganking bot all day long and lets, you know, LOL's Dead play Dota isn't? And the simple fact is, there is no kill potential on Tryndamere right now. There just isn't. He hasn't even used his ult, his ghost, or his cleanse thus far in the game. What can Nasus conceivably do at bot lane pulse? He goes down with us, that's it. Tryndamere is already gone. There is nothing they can do to pick up that kill. That's the reason Nasus is trying to camp top, and he's trying to get Ezreal snowballing.
Yeah, and Tryndamere, if he finds himself withered, he can just spin out with his spinning slash. I mean, that's not going to affect the speed on that. So, in the top lane, they're just farming it out. I'm interested in looking at some of the item builds, in fact. Nasa's going for a very sort of standard opening with the Spirit of the Ancient Girl, and we'll start picking up more items like the Aegis. In the bot lane, I thought Dexter was just going to go all in. He could definitely do it, maybe waiting for the second level and get to level 11, which he's just now gotten. So he might look for this dive, because he could carve up Xaxis so quickly. I think Xaxis may have disconnected, because trading auto attacks with Dexter probably isn't a good idea.
Yeah, Xaxis did DC a couple times in the last game, if you remember as well, Pulse. He was like having this weird limbo where he was going in and out, and I do know, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers as well realize this from watching them playing a couple days ago. They are the kind of team that gets down on themselves. They will press that self-destruct button. Do you remember when we had those lag issues on the server and they basically quit at 5 minutes and said, this is unplayable? Yeah. So the fact they didn't pause while Zaxxas was obviously DC'd and they wait till afterwards, is quite interesting. The communication on their TeamSpeak can't be too high there, Pulse, otherwise they would know. The second Zaxxas stopped talking, the second they saw him at bot lane DC, they've just been like, okay, press the pause button, and then we'll let him reconnect. The fact they haven't done that kind of, you can read too much into it, but I feel it might be a case they're starting to go downhill a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they still have the advantage, though. Like, they are still one up in this series, and you'd have to lose 2 games in a row. This game is sort of snowballing out of control in the sense that it will get worse for them, and we can already see that in the shape of Tryndamere picking up another kill, in fact. Nasa's coming down as the bot lane, won't really be able to do anything, and he doesn't have the Fury of the Sands available. Actually, no, that's because of the pauses coming in, so I can't actually see any timers. But, yeah, if you have that type of team, it all really comes down to you know, psychology, and a lot of League of Legends really is about psychology, especially in solo queue as well. But in teams, if one person is getting angry, that affects the rest of the players, and then your play goes downhill, and then you can also see like 20-minute surrenders. I mean, that's exactly how it happens. Even if you could still come back into the game, people will just surrender because they're like kind of down on themselves, they're demoralized.
Yeah, exactly, and you said this to me a few times, and I fully agree. It's all about morale. You know, solo queue, team fights, whatever you want to call it, in team games as well, like this. And if ex-Anexis are those kind of players that are prone to get on each other's backs, or there is a complete silence on TeamSpeak because people are going emo, then that could definitely contribute to these kind of losses where they take a couple of bad losses in team fights, and then suddenly, before you know it, their Nexus is dead. And I feel that there is definitely a kind of there's definitely a link there between the two of them. Also, I'm reading chat and everyone's saying like scumbag Tryndamere. The thing is, even though it's not very sportsmanlike and it is kind of crappy, I nearly said a bad word there, I don't know. It is a bit crappy to kill somebody that's obviously DC'd. There is no like written rule that you have to back. Like, I personally wouldn't have killed Zaxxas in that position, but you have to remember they're playing for money here. They're playing to win. So they don't have to just ignore the fact he's DC'd and just go back to spawn. Because in doing so, that would have actually hampered what Desu wants to do. If he'd been a good guy and recalled, he wouldn't be pushing this tower right now, which is his #1 goal in this team fight.
Yeah, and an interesting point by Spuddington was just brought up. I had a little discussion with him about it in chat, and he was saying essentially if he's pushing down their inhib and NASA's arrived, then by having that wither, he can use that wither and then he'll be forced to pop the cleanse. And if he doesn't have the cleanse, then at least he can stop him from pushing because it gives the attack speed. So that's really key. However, Desu has never really needed to pop his cleanse, and he won't need to go for the team fight either. So yes, they can bring the Nasus down the bot lane, and Wither will be fairly, in relative terms, spammable onto Desu. And he'll still be able to just carry on pushing, and he might even like pick up a quick Silver Sash as well. The fact that he's just doing so well in this game, he could probably afford it.
It's pretty interesting as well. I don't know if it's the same on your stream, Pulse, but it's like this Sheen and Manamoon right now are just stacking up so fast.
Yeah,
it's like you could have over 9,000 stacks by the time this pause comes undone. So yeah, it could be an OP Ezreal coming out the gates as soon as we go live again. There has been no update on what's happening. Lolsdead says outplay at bottom, so I'm not sure if that's that he's about to outplay Desu or that Desu outplayed Rumble, because Zaxxas didn't have much of a chance to fight back, and he says not my fault, and it's true. Like this really is a case of 50% people will probably say he was well within his right to take the kill and push the tower. The other 50 are going to say he's a scumbag. You can't please everybody. It was his decision. He made it in the split second, and it's the way it goes. They're playing competitively. At the end of the day, is it Desu's fault that Zax's PC blew up or his internet crapped out? No. What can he do about that?
Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not his problem. It sounds kind of douchebaggish, but it honestly isn't. So again, guys, we are in the pause, and Zaxxas has kind of disappeared. He's gone AWOL. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask the casters, then we'd be more than happy to answer them. It just gives us not only something to talk about, but some interaction with you guys as well.
Yeah, so while we wait for potential questions to come, and this is something we've done quite a few times, Paul, because we always seem to be hit with these massive pauses. I don't know what it is about us.
Yeah.
It's strange. Whenever we cast together, we can just guarantee there's going to be at least a 5-minute pause in the game at some point. But I'm having a quick look at some of the item builds right now. Nothing is really jumping out at me that's out of the ordinary. I guess No, actually, nothing is. Blade of the Rune King, as you're expecting, I said before that Tryndamere was very close to his 1,000 gold required after the 2 daggers and the Bilgewater Cutlass, and he's just gone ahead and picked that up, and the Rejuvenation Beads. So, do you think he's going for Ravenous Hydra afterwards? I guess that's one of the things that I would expect it to go into as a Rejuve Bead goes.
Well, Rejuve Bead was picked up originally for the lane sustain, and this is very typical of top laners because it's sustain. The thing with Rejuve Bead is most people just sell it back to the shop. It's literally just to get them through the laning phase or the first couple levels if they're in a dodgy lane, which is exactly what Trin did. He could go for Ravenous Hydra, would give him more pushing ability, but the fact he has Spinning Slash and he does so much damage to minions anyway, he doesn't really need it. It's a luxury that he doesn't particularly want or even need. In a 1v2 situation, it does give him the ability to 1v2 more effectively because it's essentially AoE. I wouldn't expect him to do it, but he could.
That question from Spuddington, why are you so short and fat? Well, I can answer that for myself. I'm fat because I eat too much and don't exercise enough. It's that simple. In terms of being short for poles, I guess it's just genetics. There's not much else you can do apart from say, well, it's the way I was born. Yeah, so maybe next question.
I can try my best, but last time I wore a top hat at I-Series to make myself look taller, so I could always try high heels as well. I mean,
but everyone saw through that. Everyone knew you were wearing a top hat to look taller, so it didn't work. High heels, you have been mistaken for a girl a few times, you told me. So
yeah, indeed.
Wearing the high heels could that would be quite interesting and awkward at the same time if someone started hitting on you. And you're like, dude, I'm a guy. Could get quite strange.
It could do. It'll be alright though, Metas, because you'll be there and you're going to be your security guard, so you can just mess them up for me. It's fine.
Why? Why would you want to mess them up? You should take it as a compliment. They find you attractive. That's a good thing, surely.
Well, depends really, doesn't it?
This has really gone off topic fast, hasn't it? Like
holy... It has, but you know, you put yourself and you put me in a chat together, and nothing's really happening. This is what comes out.
Why don't you grow a mustache? I actually have a full beard, so I got mustache and beard.
Yeah.
Okay, a serious-ish question. Who, in your opinion, is the best mid lane champ, Pulse? And I'll add a little bit at the end of that, and why.
Sorry, what was that? I was reading another insult from Spuddington.
Who is in your opinion, the best mid lane champion? And I'll add a bit to the end of that, and I'll ask and why.
Oh, right, okay. Right, so there's a lot of good mid lanes, basically, and when we get into competitive play, it's not always about who is the best mid laner, but who is the best mid laner to fit into a certain composition. If you think back to when we were in Champion Select, we were saying that Take Fun might well go for an Orianna or a Zyra pickup because it synergizes with Get's Jarvan pickup, and they need some sort of disruption in CC. So in that sense, you know, it makes a lot of sense to go for it. In terms of solo queue, again, there's very good matchups. Mid lane, I'm absolutely horrible at, so I really don't really have anything to supply there. But you have good mid laners, you know, like Snow, who goes for very unconventional picks. So it's really just down to preference, personally. And for me, something I can farm with. So yeah, I sometimes like to go Ziggs or Lissandra because I can literally just sit in lane, farm, don't do anything else.
I was going to say Ziggs as well, so you just ruined my life there, Pulse, thanks.
Sorry.
He is just so much fun. Like, that's all I'm going to say, is he is damn fun to play, and you can get some awesome steals as well with his Mega Inferno Bomb, his ultimate, so pretty awesome. Another question from chat. The reason we're doing this, guys, if you just joined us, you're like, why are these casters waffling on like a couple of morons? Well, because we have a 10-minute pause, and there's not... we've kind of already covered a lot of the basics of this game, so yeah, we're trying to keep it fairly fresh, if you want to say that. What got you into casting, and how long have you been casting for, Pulse?
Yeah, I mean, we are morons, so at least that part's true. But...
well, yes, that part is true.
Yeah. So what got me into casting? Well, I first off, when I was a bad player and I was in gold, I thought, well, why not start a team? And realised I was bad. So then I followed this team, and essentially I thought, well, I have really bad internet, why not stream and become a caster? So essentially for the first 6 months, I kept on following small teams and then jumped on the bandwagon. So when someone beat the team I was following, I would add them to friends list and then spectate their game. I would literally do that and have like 5 to 10 viewers. I eventually got picked up by a company, and then I kind of went from there. What about you, Metas? I know you're a very, very old caster in that sense.
I am old in both senses of age, in terms of like online, and also I've been casting for 5 or 6 years now since Call of Duty. I played Call of Duty to a pretty high level, and then I just thought, okay, I'm not really interested in putting all the hours in anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn into casting instead. Then I found League of Legends, played it from beta, and here we are today. Zaxxas has reconnected though, Paul, so all of our random drivel aside, we could be back into the game quite shortly.
That'd be good. It would put us back on track, and that's a good thing. But we're not actually launching, so we might have time for another question if anyone has one.
Which champion is the most attractive? I think I actually asked you this the other day as a troll question.
Oh yeah.
I think you said Annie, didn't you? Which is quite awkward.
Yeah, I said Annie because she's hot.
Yeah, that's it.
Outstanding. Oh, now we've got answers from chat.
Poppy.
Carpus. Okay.
Annie, that ass. Oh my god, you're so going to jail, dude.
I know. It's alright, I'm in the same age range. But we've actually launched, so... Well, Trinity is going straight onto Nasus. Weather comes down, and the Blade of the Rune King. This is the slowest chase in Century. It's like some bad Japanese soap opera. And it's backed up.
What Japanese soap opera have you been watching? Where's top lane? Caliber is jumping in it. I can't even keep my focus on the game. The Twitch is going to be falling. They're looking for the double kill. Nice play again, which actually opened up that engage in the first place. And suddenly, that is an unstoppable Caliber. Again, I have to ask you this. What Japanese soap operas have you been watching?
Well, there was this police investigation. Yes, Spillingson's just messaged me with the name of it, but I can't actually read it because I don't speak Japanese. But it's... I don't know, I'll have to send you the video. We might put it on the break as well because you need to be educated. But you'll find out soon, don't worry. Anyway, we did have some action. We were a bit distracted because dribbling. And it looks like Trinity is still farming.
Well, what a massive surprise that is. And it looks like Nasus is ready to solo Drake. Again, what a huge surprise. They are really bursting and busting out the moves today. Ward has gone down from Get, so he's in the right place at the right time. Had good timing coverage on the Drake. And this could stymie off the push, courtesy of Lol. But they're coming in, overpower from the side. The Charm actually on the Denuchus. That Cataclysm has been jumped upon from Ari, actually jumping through the Charm there. Finally, Drake is picked up. In the meanwhile, Twitch coming around from the side. He is pretty scary at this point with the Blade of the Rune King, but that Wither is going to end. And there goes the Shockwave of the suicidal bomber attempt there from Oriana, flashing in and shockwaving herself. And they do pick up the kill on Rumble.
Yeah, suicide bomber without the suicide part, and
exactly.
did very well indeed. Another kill picked up, putting themselves ahead. Have to say though, ex-Anexis pulling themselves back into the game in a sense that they are coming back into the gold because another Drake has been picked up by LoL's Dead Play Dota. But on the flip side, Trinity is still going to become an issue. Twitch is having a good game, they have damage threats all over the board, they have good initiate. So unless something goes horribly wrong, there's no real way for them to come back. And Vander is just trying his best to just push back Daisu. He's actually being very aggressive, and this is such a good mind game. Daisu is thinking there's no way he would actually be this aggressive, but meanwhile in the mid lane, LoL's dead, jumping on to take fun. He's got no escape to speak of. He should surely fall. Got the barrier though. It might be enough to keep him safe. Come in with a command and protect, and Gets is just arriving on the scene to just shove LoL's dead back into his jungle. But my point was before, Trinity was thinking there's no way that Thresh would be so aggressive on his own, so he was expecting a jungler gang to happen. In fact, it was just Thresh, just pushing him back. Mind games.
Yeah, very much the case, and that's him respecting Thresh as well, not thinking he's going to do something stupid. Caliber may have actually just done the exact same thing there. Going to be a 1v1 duel to the death. The Crucial Project does still land though, so nice anticipation. Realising that Trinity would move from the side, but the Undying Rage is more than enough to claim that kill. And this will allow him to push this top tower as well. In mid, there was a bit of a confrontation, but nobody falls down. So Ezreal is dead. That's the shutdown gold going on Tryndamere as well, and he's going to try and add another tower to his belt on top of that.
You just can't deal with Tryndamere, and that's just given him another kill, and he'll just carry on pushing. Picking up the bottom turret, and it's interesting they moved him up to the top turret because they don't want to push him too far, because they could collapse on him before they could take an objective themselves. So it makes sense, he may well just transition into mid, but it looks like it's going to fall to take fun anyway. In fact, the minions finish it off. MVP cast the minion. We've got Rumble coming in from the side, and ex-Anexis' main play that they can make is going for an initiation like as soon as they can. Nasus with the second level of Fury of the Sand might be enough to swing a team fight.
Castaminian reminded me of yesterday, I believe it was, when Cook My Sock got took down from a heroic Castaminian as well. If you haven't seen that, youtube.com/cursecontingency, the VOD should be up there, very smooth. Either way, that is going to be red started from Kellever, and also Lol's Dead going to be donating this one to Kellever, so he's going to be that little bit stronger, and already actually has his Iceborne Gauntlets and Manamune, so that's really scary. The good choice though for Manamune, I have to say, and also the Iceborne Gauntlets, is that he's going to be going blue build Ezreal, and Tryndamere is going to consistently be slowed. So I really like that pickup, plus the fact it's going to give him 70 armor is going to make Tryndamere a much harder job to cut through this Ezreal.
Yeah, they're setting up Ezreal to be the duelist for Tryndamere, and I like that a lot, as you said. It gives him wave clear as well with the Iceborne Gauntlet, flash over the wall, the Flagger Drag over the wall, picks up the blue away from Overpower at the smite from Lol's Dead. He might be on the receiving end of this kill, though. Tidal Wave in that bottleneck locks everyone up, but there's the great Rumble Ultimate splitting up the team. Huge damage comes out to Leo, picks up the kill, gets, still might be out of the action, great flash over the wall. Overpower actually lands the charm though. Kellever now coming into the scene, along with Zaxxas doesn't connect the Electro Harpoon. Flag and Drag comes off cooldown and gets himself out of the fight. So one kill goes on to Leo, but they still picked up the blue. So for now, it has stopped them, but, well, what a surprise, Desu's taking turrets.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful ultimate from Rumble, perfect positioning, but Tryndamere is just top. And for every second that the entirety of the opposition is milling around mid trying to pick up kills, he's going to be picking up towers. This is what we were talking about in Champion Select. He wants to split push, and he's got the right summoner spells to do so. Hasn't used his Undying Rage recently, hasn't used his Ghost or Cleanse. So again, Nasus comes up, but doesn't even bother to wither him. Knows it's completely futile. So Tryndamere right now is just absolutely destroying this game. It is so hard from ex-Anexis to formate themselves into a position where they can stop this from being a continual problem.
Yeah, he's pushing quite far now picking up the inner turret. He probably can't push any further. But even if we see more invade, the main fact they went for that invade not only to take the blue, but as a distraction play for Tryndamere. The reaction from ex-Anexis was to go all in to try and pick up more kills, therefore making it worth it. They could turn that into objectives such as towers. But because the disengage was so good from Leo with the tidal wave, we mentioned this before, it was enough to get them out with only one casualty, and therefore they couldn't push. 4 towers to 0 right now for WeDisbandTomorrow. They're in such a good position.
Yeah, very much the case. Cataclysm has been used on Overpower, but the Spirit Rush instantly coming good. It will be down for another 100 or so seconds, but still, you know, it's a nice little Cataclysm in, and they kind of just pull away from that one. Right idea, I have to feel Pulse, just trying to keep Ari in her place and allowing Tryndamere again to split push bottom this time. And it's just a case of, what do you do in the position of ex-Anexis? If you try and commit fully to mid, then Tryndamere could possibly push down your bottom inhib. And if you just let him keep doing this, then he's going to do it anyway.
And that is why Tryndamere is annoying to play against, not only in solo queue but also in team games. It's just you can't play around him. Therefore, they're going to pick up the kill onto Overpower. Flashes burn along with the Spirit Rush from earlier. Blue build Ezreal is just kind of keeping them back, but they can't stall against the Tryndamere. You have to pick up the early mid advantage. Basically moving over the wall, lands the mocking shout. Doesn't choose to go for the all-in dive because the team is on their way. And now Drake is up, so this could be a point of contention. If Tryndamere joins a team fight, they might be able to deal with him in that scenario.
Yeah, that's very true. It's like the 5v5 fights you have to feel ex-Anexis actually want. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Nami Aqua Prisms to Drake, then flashes through the wall. It's like, screw you guys, I am out. Peace. But Drake has been started. So it's a case of who makes the first move here. Because if WDT don't go in, it's going to be a free Drake. However, they have put enough pressure on to force them back. Now, Overpower's going mid. So they're very much split up right now. Lol's Dead is trying to bluff his way to this Drake. But they know that Ari was in mid. Death Sentence has came out on Tryndamere. But look at Kellever at the backlines. He's completely isolated by himself. Beautiful back pistol through the wall though. Here comes the shockwave. In the meanwhile, on top of 3 players, Rumble is very low. Gets is trying his best, but again Twitch is left to his own devices, and he's not going to be able to do anything in that position. That is a 2-for-0 trade with Tryndamere still alive and kicking, and he's going to be coming around from the side right now. But I'm not too sure. Can they stop this Drake on the flip side, Pulse?
Yeah, Tryndamere is very low, but he still has his ultimate and the cleanse. I felt that in the team fight, we'll analyze it in a second. Desu, great jukes out of the way with the skill shots. He could literally just go all in. The 5 seconds that he has to stay alive with Undying Rage actually pops it and actually chasing against Overpower. Great counterplay with the Zhonya's. He might actually reclaim the kill here. Doesn't have the Spirit Rush, doesn't have the Flash either. He's getting out of dodge, and now they move on to the Drake. Very well played by ex-Anexis, but I have to say, big misplay by Desu. He went the wrong way. He went after Kelleher when the rest of the team was on the side, and his kind of tunnel vision mentality to try and take down the carry hurt them a lot. Had he actually gone with Jarvan, he could have literally picked up a triple kill and then killed the rest of the team. But the decision making wasn't quite there, and the Blue Blood Ezreal came into its own.
Yeah, oh, I thought Lol's Dead was going to be 6 foot under there. He very narrowly escaped with the recall. Venom Cast comes out, but it's like we're talking about in game number 1. It's almost a carbon copy. That Cry is trying his best with Twitch. He is in the right places at the right time, but nobody is peeling for him. Tryndamere went on just a journey, running around the corner, chasing after an Ezreal who then arcane shifted brilliantly through the wall. So Trin was completely out of position. Twitch died almost instantly. He had very little part in that team fight. So as big as Trin is, as much as he's been doing a great job in terms of split pushing, when it came to the team fight, that only went one way, and that was ex-Anexis. So they need to be careful going into these latter team fights, because Tryndamere is not going to be able to take down all 5 players by himself.
Yeah, the play, honestly, from WeDisband is that they need either to take away the Drake before it becomes an objective to fight over, or just concede it and allow Tryndamere to push. Because Tryndamere in teamfights just isn't as effective. He has a problem connecting with people, and the Wither hurt him a lot. He could have actually cleansed that, but there was more CC coming in from Kelleher. He could constantly kite him. So their team fight is actually very good at countering Tryndamere. Therefore, he just needs to sit in the lane and push. And he might have actually just realised that, moving Trynd into a lane of his own. And that's really what they need to happen. Again, in a team fight, if he had gone the right way, it might have turned out. But on paper, it shouldn't anyway.
So that leaves us very interestingly poised here, Pulse, where the tower advantage very much in the hands of WeDisbandTomorrow, but the goal difference is not huge. 1.6k in their favour. Ezreal 4-1. He is going to start to get very scary. Blue build Ezreal will fall off late game, but for now in the mid game he is running rampant. And Tryndamere is going to find it very difficult to chase Kelleher down. So in these future fights, Pulse, what I would expect to see happen is Tryndamere either kind of just peel for Twitch and crush down all those tanks, or maybe go for the likes of Rumble, but he's going to come head to head very shortly with a 1v2, and a premature Spirit Fire is going to be like, okay, see you guys later, I'm off.
He was like, I've seen this situation happen many times, I'm just going to back on off. And Spirit Fire went down preemptively, as you pointed out. 3 people around that top lane, again committing the people to that area because they know Tryndamere will carry on pushing. And, well, they are just committing 2 people, and this is the worst case scenario. You commit more than 1 person, Trin keeps on pushing, and then it's a 4 versus 5 fight. Twitch pushing the bot lane, but just all going into that split pushing mentality. They do have good counter initiate in the mid lane, they could theoretically do this.
They very much could do, but it's a case of will they? Because right now, the creep wave is slightly behind them. So they're going to have to be careful. I mean, Ezreal is bot lane, so he's just trying to get some farm up. Tryndamere, surprise, is at top, and again we're having a disconnect. And if this is a long one, Pulse, we're going to run into that kind of scary territory. Well, it's not going to be a long one because he's instantly reconnected, but we've already got like 18.5 minutes left on the pause timer. So if Snaxis' PC completely gets blown up again, we're going to be in awkward positions.
Yeah, and we only have so much filler content, so, you know, it's going to be very difficult for us. But Overpower back into the scene. It was actually Overpower this time, so, you know, it wasn't Zaxxas. And now Gets looking for this initiate, forces the Spirit Rush once again. This is great for them. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd time that's happened, not just in this game. Cry potentially caught here. So much damage comes out. Tidal Wave comes across just to zone them away from Cry. If he dies, that's going to be a huge loss for their team in general. And I just realized Tryndamere was diving the double Nexus turrets. As you do.
NP, he could actually dive the tower. No, he isn't. He's going to pop off his heal just at the right moment. But look at how many players he has just attracted. He's taunted them to him, and that's going to allow them to pick up this mid tower. I'm very surprised that all 4 players covering mid went to top to try and chase down the Tryndamere, who had Ghost and Cleanse available.
Yeah, I mean, the shutdown gold would have been nice, and the fact that he's now diving your double Nexus turrets is a slight problem in that he can just go anywhere and kill your entire team. But collapsing everyone upon him was just not the right play. And the fact that they actually didn't catch him at all and lost the mid turret, it's just going from bad to worse. 5 and 0 turrets right now. Hook goes down. They might be able to reclaim the turret here. Caliber just have the sieging capability of being blue build Ezreal, but with everyone coming back into the scene, I'm not sure if they want to go for that 3 versus 4 initiation. But Trind picks a new lane and carry on pushing.
Yes, very true. So True Shot Barrage comes down. The middle lane going to be weakening up those creeps, and now Kellever will just jump on top of them with the Mystic Shot. I'm quite interested to see what his cooldown is on Mystic Shot. It's 3 seconds, so it's like basically a machine gun coming down at you all the time that puts a nice amount of damage and a needy little handy slow on top of that. So Tryndamere is again just constantly being a threat. He's going to come one-on-one with Overpower. He does have his ultimate backup on cooldown. Overpower being forced to Spirit Rush away. In that case, he's going to save Pulse. That was just successful from Tryndamere. He got rid of the Spirit Rush.
Yeah, I think for the third or fourth time this game, and Tryndamere literally 2 auto attacks brought Overpower to about 50% HP, and the Baron play comes in. They're actually committing all of them to actually stop this from happening, and this is fantastic decision making, because if they commit everyone, they could just back on up. Even if they pick up this team fight, Tryndamere will probably take an inhib. They are just going to back away, and they committed everyone to it. Moving now, LOL's dead back. No, he's going to farm the mid lane. Ari's kind of tentative about going back there. She can't deal him. They've actually set up Kellever to do so, and they're just going to keep pressuring Baron. Perfect decision making. They need someone to stop him. First tower goes down. They need to make a decision fast.
They have to make it split second. You've got to either let Baron go, or you've got to go and try and kill Tryndamere. And doing neither is not going to help your team. So Rumble is going across right now. Going to be a 1 versus 2 at bot lane. Now comes the question, can Nasus try and steal away this one? He has his smite off cooldown, and in fact, successfully stopping the Baron just for now. Ward comes down, and they can see that ex-Anexis, sorry, I should say WDT, stopped on Baron. So it is a successful play.
I'm kind of, I'm not really sure why they did that. They could have just carried on pushing. They could have kept up the pressure. Actually, a decent amount of gold for Orianna and Tryndamere in turn, and plus they could just go for the Drake as well. Makes sense, they're just back enough. They're not in a rush to pressure. I think that's really what they were thinking. They could just carry on, and their team doesn't really scale off. Tryndamere only scales up. So, from their perspective, they could just back off, farm, and go back and pressure them again. They can keep doing this, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, very much true. And it's interesting as well that they made the decision to stop Tryndamere, and then just WDT didn't go for a straight-up Baron. I'm a bit confused why, but maybe just a bit worried that, you know, the Smite Steal could have came into effect. But this is keeping Ari at the bot lane. Again, Desu is going to be going an aggressive. Blade of the Ruin King's been used. Zhonya's Hourglass instantly coming down from Ari, and the Spirit Rush as well has been utilised. But can they take down the kill on Desu? He's now turning around. He has his ultimate, he has Ghost, he has Cleanse as well. He is going out for this kill, he's going to pick it up. Can he go for a second one? No, he can't, but a 1-for-1. And again, surprise, surprise, they're jumping on Baron.
They committed 3 people to him, and now they can make this Baron play. Vander over the wall, be supplying the ward so they can maintain that vision. Poke from Kellever might be enough. Big Lord Ezreal is so good in these situations. They'll be taking increased magic damage if they choose to go for it. Looking for the smite now from Gets it. And Vander actually gets caught along with Kellever, the AoE damage, and the ultimate coming in from Jarvan doesn't actually take it out so quickly, blocks off the rest of his team. Great McLaren coming in, but now Zaxxas over the wall gets caught in the flag and drag. Double kill coming in for Cry. Such a good play, and that's what happens when you have Tryndamere. You can make you can engineer these scenarios to happen, and then you win either way.
Yeah, Ari is designed in team fights to just jump in the mix and try and assassinate somebody and just be very irritating. And the fact that she has to keep going bot to keep Tryndamere in check makes a huge amount of difference in these team fights. As we just saw, she went down. Tryndamere does not have an AoE ultimate like Orianna does. So even though Tryndamere died at the bot lane, it was still worth that 1 versus 1 trade. Now they've got the Baron, now they've got the mid inhib as well. And you've got to say, this is looking like it's snowballing out of control, Pulse.
Yeah, it is indeed. ex-Anexis probably still have the ability to teamfight if they fight them either in the jungle or they fight them over an open objective. But no Drake on the map, and because they're aggressing so hard into the jungle, they can't fight over Drake. They might be able to set up a situation where they fight them over one of their buffs, such as blue buff, because they'll know that that WeDisbandTomorrow might actually pressure that. But they could take that so quickly, it'd have to be so well timed. And honestly, they can't really fight them anywhere else. So either they go for the 5 versus 5 fight, or just keep letting Trinimir take their towers.
So Dragon went down at 30-25, so it's going to be a little bit longer before that is back up and available for these two teams to fight over. I think for right now, ex-Anexis are going to have to try and just turtle this one in. If they go up against the Baroned up WeDisbandTomorrow, you have to fear they're going to come out second best, unless they can get a pick on Desu. But again, his endless Undying Rage is back up off cooldown, only a 90-second cooldown right now, so he's consistently being a thorn in their side. If he dies, no problem, he's going to come back up with his ult again, and this is going to allow the rest of his team to push bot. So this is a systematic mechanical push from both sides right now. Top Tryndamere, the rest of his team at bot. And again, a decision is going to have to be made here from ex-Anexis. Do you go top and stop Trin, or do you go bot and stop this 4-man push?
Yeah, and that's the predicament they're in. Plus, Super Minions down the mid lane. They're being pressured on all sides. Right now in Twitch chat, I'm just watching the argument between people saying whether it's Drake or Drag. You could also call it a flying furnace with wings. And Kellever gets completely torn up. 3 auto attacks from Desu, and actually doesn't pop his ultimate. This is good.
I don't even understand why he didn't use his ultimate there, but still, you know, that's one of those small mishaps that could have a huge domino effect, because Desu's now down for 45 seconds. That could spell the end of these pushes. That could be a completely wasted Baron right now. So you've got to say that not popping off the ulti there could have actually cost his team a Baron and potentially a second inhib.
Yeah, that was good for now. At least they kept them back and they haven't taken the last new objectives. And great initiative from Vandal. This is exactly the fight that they need. And they've actually forced Get to go on the front line. Already picking up Vandal though. They couldn't actually get there in time to follow up on the initiation. The Cataclysm comes out. The infantry attacking this away. Another kill comes down, but Kellever's on the front line. Zaxxas there as well. Surely going to fall. Command attack comes out into the distance. Double kill for Twitch. And now Lol's dead and Overpower left to pick up the pieces. 1-for-3 trade, and that was just a result of poor positioning, but that might have just been over desperation after the initiation from Vanda.
It's like ex-Anexis could hear me, and they were like, we're going to prove Metis wrong. He's saying that Barrow may not be used for anything, let's just go ahead and throw this fight 4 versus 5. And that's exactly what they did. So Trinity was down, nobody for ex-Anexis were, but like you said, the positioning was just not prime. This allowed Twitch to be freed up and allowed it to just stand at the back with his spray and pray and crush through everybody. So that's going to be the second inhibitor falling. And the third inhibitor tower is taking a bit of a pasting right now from minions. So they really are on their last legs right now, ex-Anexis. And I am interested to see how much longer they're going to be able to survive for, because that mistake from Desu, I'm going to bet will not happen again. Next time, he's going to pop his ultimate.
Yeah, and he has the summoners now, and he's just picked up more items. It's gone from bad to worse, and killing them has just kind of just made him stronger, and they can do the same thing over and over again. Now with 2 inhibitors down, it's honestly, it's getting to the point, Metas, where it's just like, are they just going to give up the ghost? They don't really have anything in their arsenal to fight back. Drake might come up, they might be able to go for a contest or even a steal from Nasus with Fury of the Sands, and they can just go all in on that. But even from when you're this ahead in the game and you have control over the entire enemy jungle, making that decision, to go for the Baron is a lot easier, because if they do come, you can see them a mile off and you can just back off. So getting into that place is just almost impossible from ex-Anexis.
Yeah, and I'm trying to wrap up things in my head, rack my brain around ways that ex-Anexis can feasibly push themselves back into this game, but you have to feel positive. It's probably going to be a case of WeDisbandTomorrow throwing more than ex-Anexis making big plays at this point, because even if they do get an ace, they only have 1 tower down, so you cannot push to win. So even the best case scenario, like a 5-0, they're not going to be able to end the game.
Yep. And now we have a dispute over whether it is Nasha or Baron. Outstanding. Yeah, Drew Barrymore, tons of damage. You can follow me at Impossible. No, so another siege coming in, and Daisu now sieging the double Nexus turrets. They're committing 2 people. They start chipping away at the top turret as well. They're just trying their best to hang on. Pop the ultimate from Daisu, and now 3 people committed. Now taking the middle inhibitor. Daisu's backing up. Command Protect comes in. Overpower actually whiffs the Orb Deception. Ultimate coming across from Canada, but he drops so low just from Take Fun. He's become a massive threat in his own right. Zax is backing up. Box comes out from Vanda. I don't think this is enough to save Rumble. Overpower comes in with the boots, but gets actually might fall, but Command Protect again saves another life. Canada comes in, but this is surely going to be the game. Daisu actually very low. He might fall in the process. With them waiting against the Nexus, I can't see them holding on for much longer.
No, this is going to be game right now. They do get the last hit on Nexus, but look at the team from WeDisbandTomorrow all flashing up red there. So that was super, super close at the end, but still a well-deserved victory. That's going to take it 1-1, Pulse. So everything to play for these teams. And I have to pose a question to you. With all this talk about Drake and Dragon, is it Baron or Nash?